I just left you off with how we created our own repository, first in GitHub, and then we used it to connect it to a folder we have, so from scratch. Imagine that I just want to use a online repository either created by me a year ago or like somebody else you know, somebody you're working with or whatever. You just want to continue working with them. First things you need to do is you need to locate the specific the URL up here. So you need to know where to go to find it, of course. That's the first thing you need to do. Next thing is, once you're in this area where you can see the files, you need to go to the green button down here that says clone or download. Now you can download a zip file and extract everything if you want to, but I just want to do the continue using with my terminal, and I just mark this and copy the line. So this is basically the same as you see up here. So I copied this specific URL, and I'm going to go back to my computer. I'm just going to remove these two because, as I just mentioned, I haven't done anything. I just want to work together with other people that have something online. So right now my WebStorm project is empty. Going back to my WebStorm here, I'm just making sure I'm in the correct library. I am. Awesome. And in this library I want to download this repository. So I'm still going to use the git, but I'm using the clone command now. And you do just after that space, and then you paste in the URL to the specific repository you want to download or clone. Every public repository there is, if they're public, you can download them and you can use them for things. So make sure, so if they're on the license, make sure that you read that, but basically, if they're public, you're able to download them and use them. That's the reason, and that's the point of some of this GitHub. Click enter, and then it says cloning into. Awesome. So this is a library it's cloning into. You can go through what all this is, but basically it's just downloading a zip file, unpacking them. If I go back to my Finder, I can now see I have a Git Awesome with the files that I just created in the previous video. So I just downloaded all this cool stuff from just using one command in my GitHub. If I'm not the owner of this specific folder, but I want to be, so if you're like a teammate is creating, initializing the GitHub and you want to work together with him or her, then you need to be collaborators on it. So the person who owns it needs to grant access to the other person. So you can do this thing called contributors. There's no one right now. If you click that button, that's one way to go, or you can go to settings up here, click that, and go to collaborators. And then you can add a person in here. So I, for example, could add lbuilder, if I can spell it correctly, like this. This is another teacher at the academy who's teaching computer science. And it's also the person you can see out here that's posting a lot on my wall. So if I did this and added collaborator, it's going to give him a mail saying, hey man, you want to join this collaboration with me? And he clicks yes, and then he has access to it. He can do basically the same thing as you can in your repository. The thing he can or she can do is delete it. So the owner is the only one who can delete the repository, and also the one who can control everything if there needs to be. But adding a collaborator gives you basically access to everything except deleting it. So right now that's either creating your own repository, cloning somebody else's, and connecting you or another person to a repository that's online, and now you can start working together like the illustration. So one uploads and then another one could clone that one down, and then the second user could do a change, upload that, maybe add files, and the first user can then pull everything down and then have some, and then suddenly you have a lot of files and a big project. One thing you need to remember is if you do things in here, did we open this? Where the files go? Anyways, if you work on the same exact file, so two people are working on a CSS file or a index file, and one uploads while the other one is working on his own locally, that could create a problem, a merge problem, and that's something you need to make sure that you don't do a lot, but the system will tell you if that happens. So if user 1 added 10 lines to an HTML, user 2 added some other things, user 1 uploads this, then and the second user 2 wants to upload as well, he's going to be shown an error that you're not on the same version. If user 2 can then do a git pull and then pulls down everything git 1 does, and then hopefully if there's no conflict, then they can just upload their extra part they did. So they kind of escaped a merging problem. But if not, then we have to, then manually you should go to GitHub online and see the different merging problems, and then you can manually click, I want this solution, this solution, this solution, this solution. But that's for a later thing if we get to that point. But there is a chance that could happen. So now you know there's something called a merge conflict. But that's kind of it that I wanted to show you for now, the basic instruments you need to use to start using Git. The reason why I show you Git is because we're going to be using, along with the Ionic project that we're going to be starting with really soon, so we can start uploading our app so people can actually use it. That's cool. Whee! So, see you soon.